Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff. You're watching the Schwa Mill, where we help you craft your accent. At this time, every single Saturday, for the next hour and a half, I have you as we take a look at pronunciation files that you send us and give some thoughts so that way we can help you achieve a more natural sound as best as possible. I do want to just share some quick hellos before we get into things. Hello to Shok checking in, letting us know about some consonant sounds. By the way, there is a poll going on, which you can see at the top of the chat, asking you what consonant sounds you find to be the most difficult. In the lead right now is the TH sounds, the voiced and voiceless versions. I'm guessing. If you could let me know which one you find more difficult, voiced or voiceless. I guess it's voiced, especially like at the end of a word, but you can let us know. Second place is the R sound. And if there's another consonant that gets in the way, you can also let us know that as well, as Shok did. Hello also to Edward checking in. Good to see you. Emmanuel's here. Good to see you again, Emmanuel. And, I see some other consonants coming in. So R and L combinations, TH, voiced or voiceless, both of them. Consonant clusters, the NTHS. That's a horrible one. As long as you're able to keep we could talk about some techniques. I see Junji is here. L is hard, especially the dark L sound. We spend a lot of time talking about that in our classes. A lot of time. Certain cases, the TH sound as well. Cool. But today, I'm not going to be the only one giving you feedback. In fact, we have a special guest, which you may have seen. So let's give a moment just to introduce her.
Ciao, hola, hello. I'm Mary L from Mary L Accent Coaching. And in this video, I'm going to show you something that will give your speech more rhythm. Stay relaxed. The most common mistake is to have the tongue too low when you say E.
Hi.
Hello.
Guys, this is Mary L, or just Mary, or Maria, perché tu parli italiano, per
Sì.
qualche motivo. That's great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Mary, if I just give you like 30 seconds, what's your spiel? How would you introduce yourself to everybody here?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Mary. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I live in Tennessee. And although I was born in the United States, I am crazy about other languages and accents from all over the place. So I've spent most of my life learning languages and learning to get really close native-like accents in them. And today I help others do the same with American English.
So you're kind of like me. I'm originally from the East Coast as well, because I'm from Philadelphia. How do you feel about leaving the East Coast for Midwest, started the South? How's your transition been?
Yeah, it's pretty different between the North and the South over here.
Yeah.
I miss the seafood from Massachusetts. But over here, the cost of living is lower and, it's kind of a more affordable place to live over here.
Now, how do you say car?
Car,
How do you say chowder?
chowder.
Okay, so no Boston. No, we're not doing that. No.
No, I moved when I was very young.
Okay.
So, I heard the accent from my parents a lot and I went back up to Massachusetts, but I never got the Boston accent.
Got you. So before we dig into some specific pronunciation things, we were talking backstage a little bit, and I thought it might be helpful for people to know why pronunciation. What brought you to teach pronunciation versus all the other aspects of language?
Yeah, so I started out in ESL and I've been teaching English for a long time. But for me, it's a lot more interesting to teach pronunciation because it's something that's not taught a lot in English classes. Like when you take an ESL class from the beginning, there's not a huge focus on the accent. It's mostly like grammar, 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 just talk, 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 but they don't stop to explain all the nuances and the complicated aspects. So I think it's really good to be able to provide help with that so that people can improve that aspect of their speaking, especially because when you have a conversation with someone, if you don't have clear pronunciation, it's going to kind of mess up the quality of the communication. So I think it's important.
Got you. Yeah. kind of very similar to my background too. I was doing ESL, then I became a director at a language center, and there was no pronunciation curriculum at all. So like I basically
Mm,
worked with another instructor. We designed a pronunciation curriculum to be used. I was part of a system that basically they had branches in like every state, and so that this was like the first like major pronunciation course that we had. And then also just from my own language learning background, pronunciation often is something that's not taught till you reach an
yeah,
advanced level, and it's like, man, we could have would have been nice to get this stuff earlier a little
definitely,
bit. Yeah,
definitely. Do
yeah,
you think that they should teach pronunciation like from the beginning?
100%. I was what I often it's hard now because I have a 4-year-old son.
Mhm.
But one thing I would like to do once I have more time is I would like to learn a new language. And if I were to learn a new language personally, I would probably spend a month just doing pronunciation stuff. Like no vocab, no grammar, just pronunciation, getting the sounds right. Because I think if you can get that system down earlier, then you don't have to unlearn later,
Yeah.
um, which is part of the difficulty with pronunciation,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I've tried that recently with, Portuguese because
Okay.
I already speak Spanish and Italian, so I have everyone saying, "Okay, next, let's learn Portuguese." And so I said, "All right, let's do it." And I spent a couple of weeks just kind of dissecting the pronunciation,
Mm,
how the pronunciation of the R, for example, depends on
mhm.
what sounds you have around it. And then I started trying to speak a little bit with friends, and they said, "Wow, you don't have an American accent." And I said, "Because I didn't learn any bad habits."
So again, it shows this is important for people. Like
Yes,
pronunciation, if you're learning a new language, not just English, any language, definitely I would recommend getting that pronunciation as early as possible.
right.
Um,
Also because it makes you seem even more fluent than you are. Like, I'm a beginner
100%.
in Portuguese, but if I have a good accent, then people will kind of overestimate my level as well.
Mhm. Which can also be dangerous because you can put yourself in some in crazy situations. Because like, yeah, that's when people are judging fluency, they're not judging your vocab, they're not judging your grammar. A lot of times, it's based on how you sound.
Yes.
That's how because people put pronunciation on like this pedestal and without
Yeah,
like realizing it. You know.
definitely.
Um, some other quick questions for you. What do you think is the most difficult sound in American English?
Mm, okay. I think it depends on what a person's native language is, but I would say the R is consistently hard for most people.
That's fair. That's fair. My mom
Yeah.
stops by. Hi, mom. Hello, also to Jassim and everybody checking in. Good to see you guys. I think the R is a good sound. Um, what sound do you think? Do you find that that's also the sound that a lot of students come to you for?
Hmm. Um, I mostly just work with advanced speakers at this point, and
Mhm,
most of the time they have the R down pat already. It's not perfect, but they're not using the R from their native language most of the time.
mhm, mhm,
So maybe another one could be TH because even at an advanced level, most people still pronounce it like a D or a T.
mhm, mhm. Got you. Got you. And out of all the languages you've learned, which one do you think has been the hardest to get the pronunciation down for?
Hmm. The thing is, I've learned all similar languages, and so
Just all those Romance language, yeah.
they
Although
share like
Portuguese is kinda nasally. I mean, they could take but I think like Spanish and Italian, I think there's a lot more
I agree with
similarity. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, so Portuguese, definitely.
Portuguese. Now, have you also traveled to, like, Portugal and Italy and, like, Spain or
I've been to Spain, but I haven't been to Italy and Portugal yet.
Okay,
How
okay.
about you?
I studied in I don't know if you can hang on, let me pull this in. I don't know if you can see it. That right there is a map of Perugia, which
Ah,
is where if you remember the Amanda Knox trial. That's where that happened. I lived like 2 blocks away from where everything went down, apparently. Um, but yeah, so I was in Perugia. This was tanto tempo fa. Where am I?
that's
Yeah.
insane. I have a very close friend in Perugia. It's
Okay.
really cool.
Okay. Yep. It's a good
That's
city. If you're ever looking to study, I definitely recommend going there. Hello also to Rosaura checking in. Okay. In a difficult language, Edward recommends Danish. I heard Danish is like talking with a potato in your mouth. This is what I have heard. Also Romanian. Romanian does not get enough love. We need more people studying Romanian. That is
Mm.
Emmanuel speaks Romanian.
Yeah,
Um,
I tried to do it once and it was pretty difficult.
it's apparently the language that's closest to Latin. That's all I know about Romanian. Emmanuel every now and then tries to teach me a little bit, but I'm not doing very well. Okay. I want to walk through our process for sending in pronunciation files really quick. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Take a minute. Oh, by the way, Marielle, you have a YouTube channel too. That's great. So people can find you here. They just dig you up. You also have a website as well at marielleaccentcoach.com. How is your YouTube journey going so far?
It's going well. I was posting reels on Instagram for a while, and I realized that I like YouTube better because you can explain things more thoroughly, and it's just very cool.
Mm-hmm. Got you. I would agree with that. So, guys, be sure to check
Mhm.
out. You can find Marielle here. You're curious for today is our magical Google document where you can send in your pronunciation files and we'll be able to see you. You can also take a look earlier in the chat or in the video description where I have posted the document. Okay. It's going to direct you to a site called vocaroo.com, which looks a little thing this. Okay. So vocaroo.com, you can go here. You can record yourself. You'll see a big fat record button. You click it, you save it. It's then going to give you this link. You take this link, you put it in our documents. We'll be able to now hear and see your file. So if you're interested in getting a free pronunciation review from us today, that's how you can do it. Okay. Now, do keep in mind, these are quick reviews, so we can't necessarily get into everything. Our goal is to try to get through as many files today as we can. My other goal is to try to make sure that I include timestamps because I always forget timestamps. So if you guys can help me, remind me to do that, that will be much appreciated. I think that kind of wraps up, though, everything, all the basics and things like that. If you guys have some questions for Mary or for me as we go through, be sure to let us know. Also, keep an eye on the poll. The poll is also quickly changing. TH at 50%. R sound comes in second. L sounds in third. No other consonant sounds. Let us know again what you find to be the most difficult consonants. I think, though, we are ready to start listening to some files. So let's get into it. Oh, let me add myself there, right? Again, it's not little, it's more little.
The G host was class.
Are you feeling that here, or here? All right, guys, I'm going to share my screen and share my sound so that way you can see what I see and hear what I hear. And Mary, I know this is your first time doing this, so I'll kind of just open up with a file and then give some quick thoughts. And then if you have things that are standing out to you, be sure to let me know.
Okay.
Although I will ask you, Mary, what's your favorite number 1 through 5? You're going to pick number
3.
3. Timestamps. I always need to remember timestamps. We're at minute 13:37. Cool. Take a look at I believe this is also going to take the text.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips unless you carefully show them every detail of the process. Like they're not the innovators right now. So this is a long way away, if ever.
Okay. Play it one more time.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips unless you carefully show them every detail of the process. Like they're not the innovators right now. So this is a long way away, if ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I especially like your the last two sentences. I like a lot. Part of the reason for that is I think you're doing a great job with pitches in that section. It's a lot more dynamic. Your highs are a little higher and your lows are a little lower. Let me try to find where it started again.
Unless you carefully show them every detail of the process. Like they're not the innovators right now.
You can hear that. They're not innovators right now. So you're going up really high on that innovators, and the other progression you're doing like innovators right now. So you're going to your high point on innovators and then you're just gradually dragging it down, which is generally the sort of movement you want, kind of moving down after stress words and stress syllables.
Like they're not innovators right now. So this is a long way away.
I like that. Long way away. So you got kind of three stresses in a row, like long way away. But notice what you're doing is each time you're doing that, you're also lowering the pitch a bit. Long way away. So like it's just going down, down, down. So you're not saying long way away. We're adding a lot of dynamic sounds there. Want to play that one more time for the first part.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips.
Because like this part right here, I think for everything I said about the last two sentences, I feel like this part is kind of lacking. That it's kind of like we're kind of being a little bit repetitive with the pitches and not really extending our range.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make. Maybe one thing we could have done is maybe raise some of the pitches on some of our stressed syllables a little bit higher. Like we don't have machines that are resourceful enough. Like take the high a little higher, but also take the lows a little bit lower for our reductions. Is kind of the first thing that's jumping out to me. Mary, anything that's kind of standing out to you here, or just kind of quick thoughts to start?
Yeah, so I think it's really good, and like it's pronounced really well. I don't hear any pronunciation errors that are really popping out. But can you play that part where it says they're not innovators right now one more time?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not innovators right now.
Okay. So
did you hear what I heard? Yeah.
Yeah. So when he says now, the pitch is perfect, but it could be a little bit more open. Could open the vowel a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Play again.
Like they're not innovators right now.
Right now. Mm-hmm.
Let's do that now again.
Innovators right now.
No. Yeah, it's kind of like no versus now. It's kind of lacking a little bit of breath. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that kind of stands out to me there too is the that short I sound on innovators, a very common thing.
The process, like they're not innovators.
Innovators, they're not innovators versus they're not innovators. They're not innovators. So you can always watch out a little bit for those E's versus those short I's. I mentioned a lot about pitch and things. I want to take a look at other.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know.
Resourceful. Do you hear a Z sound? I feel like I'm hearing a Z. Let me play again.
Okay.
We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to.
Resourceful versus resourceful. What I say? They're not resource. I personally would say resourceful.
Yeah, I've heard some native speakers say resourceful as well. Maybe it depends on the person.
No. I would definitely put that into like Youglish to kind of see what other people are saying that. Besides that,
I have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips.
One of the things that kind of just going back to what I mentioned earlier is, again, this first sentence just sounds a little bit flat to me. And I think one of the reasons for that is you do have a lot of stresses. I'll try to identify your stress words.
We don't have machines that
are
resourceful enough
to
know how to make paper clips.
No, and paper clips. So you got a lot of stresses in a relatively short amount of time, and that's not necessarily a problem. But one of the things that can happen is if you have a lot of stresses, it's like we don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips. So the one problem that can occur is that when you add more stresses, what that does is it results in a sentence that's a little bit choppier because you're never able to get to the lows, because every time you're about to get to your low point, you have to go back up again to kind of raise your pitch. So something I would recommend is, again, maybe cut down on some of those stresses. Like we don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips. Like if you just stress don't and you just stressed paper, that would give you a very different rhythm. We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to know how to make paper clips. We don't have machines that are resourceful enough to make paper clips. And that's just an example. There are other ways you can do it too. And there's nothing wrong with having more stresses, but just kind of be mindful of the more you add, there is that risk that you might sound a little bit flatter. Other things that are kind of standing out to you in this first part?
No, I would agree with you that it's mostly the pitch, but not necessarily the pronunciation. His pronunciation's excellent.
Yeah, I think the individual sounds are pretty good. I want to play the second half of this again.
Unless you carefully show them every detail of the process.
That part sounded very flat to
Mm.
me. The unless you carefully show them like a da, 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 like everything's kind of the same.
Unless you carefully show them.
Hear that? Unless you carefully show, then on them you did go down, so I do appreciate that. Um, unless you,
Yeah, I would probably make show a lot higher than carefully,
mm,
because carefully is describing the way that you show them, and show
mm-hmm,
is kind of the main point.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
we kind of judge like where to put the stress based on what gives the most meaning.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That certainly is an option. Yeah, with the stress there, you could do on carefully unless you carefully show them. Like it all depends on where are we emphasizing here, but just kind of
Right.
something there. Um, other vowel consonants.
Unless you carefully show them every detail of the process. Like they're not innovators right now. So this is a long way away, if ever.
I want to hear that
We-
last part on ever.
So this is a long way away, if ever.
I do feel like it feels like you're projecting from a higher spot on that R sound and ever, like ever, versus like ever, So I would not be opposed to projecting from a lower position and trying to get a little bit more air through on that R at the end.
Mhm.
Last thoughts for this file.
Hmm. Um, no, I think you really covered the pitch really well. I think that's the biggest thing. And then also like the way that he pronounced now could be
Mhm.
more open, maybe to
Mhm.
open up in general on some
Mhm.
vowels.
Mhm.
But other
Yeah.
than that, it's very good.
Yeah, and I think by getting some of those lower pitches, I do think you'll be able to get a little bit more breath
Yeah.
through. That will happen. Yeah. So thanks to Sycamore, we do appreciate that. We do have a question here. Trying to produce the R consonant. When I produce R, my tongue tip stays behind my top teeth, almost touching the roof of your mouth. Is this correct for the bunched R? But most videos on YouTube say tongue tip down. So this leads us to a very important question.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, how do you teach people the R sound?
Yeah, so I always say that the tongue tip has to be down, because if not, it's going to get way too close to the roof of the mouth, and that causes the pronunciation error of making it into almost a Spanish R, where it touches the roof like this. So you don't want to, I say if you can take it away from that area, it's better to keep it as far away as possible. And even when I speak normally, I don't have the tip of my tongue anywhere near the roof of my mouth. So I think it's better to avoid that region.
I think it is possible to have the tongue high, but you run the risk of really cutting off breath
Mm-hmm.
and also shifting placement. A lot of other languages have placement that is in a higher position, and the more that you use mouth positions that are closer to your first language, the more likely you are to kind of also shift into that first language sound. You know, a lot of languages have an R sound. A lot of languages have like an ah sound or an oo sound and things like that. But if you're using those same mouth positions from your first language, it's much more difficult to shift into the positions that you would use in American English. So in general, I would recommend the front end of the tongue down. Okay. But do be aware it is possible to make it with the tongue high. But if you do that, just make sure that you're getting enough airflow through and you're not shifting. And like if you're doing now my tongue's high, but the problem is I'm really closed off and I'm projecting from like up here. And that is obviously not our goal. Our goal is to get like an sound. Okay. In general, with lots of breath passing through. And again, we're projecting from a lower position. So that's really something I would recommend. So I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say the tip is necessarily wrong, because I can pronounce like that's with my tongue high, and that's certainly passable. But I can also do with the tip of the tongue down too.
Yeah, so maybe keeping the tip of your tongue down is just like the safest option.
Yeah. And I think that's true for, honestly, my approach is I think the more often you have your tongue higher, the more likely you are to kind of block air. A lot of sounds can be pronounced at the tip of tongue high, but a lot of sounds can also be pronounced with the tip of the tongue actually down. So, for instance, I did have one student. I don't know if he's here, John. John was asking about what do I mean by different positions of the tongue. So, for instance, when I say tip of the tongue, just let me make myself a bigger moment to make this a little clear. When I say tip of the tongue, I mean like right here. Okay, that's my tip. When I say like middle of the tongue, like I'm kind of talking about kind of like that area. And then when I say back of the tongue, I mean kind of right in the area where your tongue almost starts to enter your throat. So again, the front. And if I say just general front of the tongue, I don't mean the tip, but I mean like the front half from like the middle forward. Okay, so for instance, an N sound you can make with the tip of the tongue high. So you can do like n, n, n. That's what the tip of my tongue pressing up here against my alveolar ridge. But you can also do that with the tip of the tongue against your bottom front tooth and instead press kind of just like the mid front of your tongue up here, like n, n. It's like n, 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 n. And one of the things that you'll notice when you use the tip of the tongue down is the consonant sounds a little bit less clear, but the advantage is you get a little bit more breath through. And it can also be easier to keep the placement lower. Mary, any other tips about R's and things like that come to mind?
I think that's usually the biggest issue. I mean, maybe you could also, I hear a lot of people have their tongue like too flat in general and just don't really understand how to bring the center up enough. But I think that it kind of takes practice and you have to understand like it's really coming from the middle part of the tongue and not the tip. Because like when someone first approaches the R, most of the time I hear the Spanish R if they're at a level where they just don't have the R yet. And the issue is more understanding that it's not the tip of the tongue that does the work. It's more the middle of the tongue pushing up.
That's great. Yeah. I just see another question here. Can you create a summation for pronouncing unless you unless you do that, unless you do that, unless you do that. I think personally I would say you can hear both. Personally, I think either. Whatever's easier for you to pronounce. I think whatever is allowing you to keep breath flowing most easily is the one I would go for. Some of it's probably going to be context dependent.
Yeah, that's true for a lot of things. Like when we say don't you, like we don't always say don't you. You can also say don't you. But it depends on like what's comfortable depending on our breath and what comes next, what we said before.
What are you stressing and things like that. Like one thing, we have a series called Say It Native where we look at native speakers talking, and one of the things we saw is that, like, for instance, like need to, sometimes you'll actually pronounce that T, especially if need is getting a pretty heavy stress. So it's not always going to become like Nita. Like you need to go, like something like that. You're probably going to keep the T to S emphasis.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a listen to our second file. Give me one moment. Okay. And by the way, it's still time. If you would like to send in your pronunciation files, again, all you need to do is go to this link right at the top of the chat. I believe I've also pinned it. Yeah, what's our time right now? Our time is 28:45. Okay, allow me to share my screen of things. Okay. Take a listen to our second file here.
I mean, as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through, mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Okay. Mary, I'm going to play that again. I'm going to let you start off this one. One more time.
I mean, as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through, mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Okay. Anything that's standing out to you? Let me know if you need me to play it again.
The part where he said low, it seemed a little bit too open.
Let's see.
Play that again.
I mean, as long as your placement is low.
Low. Yeah, okay. So it seems like his jaw's dropping quite a bit low, like trying to open it. But it's not that open of a sound. It actually gets a little bit tighter as you go on. So it would be like low, always with the jaw kind of in the same position.
Your placement is low.
Yeah,
Low.
there's definitely there's a lot of vowel shifting going on. It's like
Mhm.
oh, like oh, and I
Mhm.
would say I think it's kind of that middle section.
Placement is low.
Low.
Low versus low. Low. Can you hear a difference between like? Let me find that again.
Placement is low.
Low. Do you hear the difference between low and
Mhm.
low? Okay. So to me, it almost kind of feels like there's a lot of movement
Mhm.
going on, which could be related to what you were talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, you can shift your pitch without necessarily opening more as well.
changing the vowel sound a lot. Yeah, because
Yeah,
almost feel like it's breaking.
I think it's good that he has the 2 steps in pitch because that's necessary, like,
Mhm.
all of the vowels in American English have that certain length,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that you have to drop your jaw a lot every time you do it.
Mhm. So just some thoughts on low there.
Mhm.
Other things.
I mean, as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through.
Mhm. Mm, okay. Air. Also there.
I was thinking that too. Air is doing a kind of a similar thing to low. That's what I was going to
Yes.
say.
Mhm.
I mean, as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through.
Yeah.
hmm Even
Air.
through to a degree. So
Mm.
the words that are standing out a lot to me are low, air, and through. Because those
Mm.
through to a lesser degree, but the big ones are especially going to be low and air. Just to me, I feel like a little bit more vowel shifting than
Right.
I would like to hear personally.
Mhm.
Um, Other thoughts on that first section? I'll play it again.
I mean,
I like that part. I think that's a common build up to whatever comes next. I mean, and then kind of drag it. You could probably even lower the pitch if you wanted.
as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through.
Also like that. And you have enough that, again, that progression downward, I think is a good movement.
Mhm.
Um, Other thoughts for that first half?
Can you play that part one more time?
Uh-huh.
As long as your placement is low and you have enough
Placement
air
is
coming through.
okay, as long as your placement is low. I probably wouldn't pause it after your, um, but he might have paused because he was trying to focus on his pronunciation. Like,
Mm,
I would, like, keep going right there and rush through your and then
mm,
stress placement, like, as long as your placement is low
hmm hmm
instead of
One,
as long as your placement is low, like that.
hmm Yeah, that's interesting what you're doing also with pitch. So you're actually going a lot lower. As long as your placement is low, like things like that, or as long as your placement is low.
Mm,
But again, playing around with some of those lower pitches as opposed to the higher ones, that definitely would be something I would say experiment with.
yeah.
Um,
As long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through.
mhm. So it's almost kind of treating it like a list. As long as you do this and this,
Mhm.
but you could also experiment with the cone in the opposite direction, like lower. Like as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through, that's another alternative that you'll hear. I'm gonna take a look at the second half.
Mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Play that second half again.
Through. Mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Things standing out to you there.
Okay, yeah, so, the word "you" seems like it could be articulated a little bit more. It doesn't have to be particularly stressed, but it seems like it's being reduced a little bit more than we would reduce it.
For there really doesn't matter if you think about that part.
Mhm.
Mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
If you think about it.
If you think about.
Yeah. Like, I'm hearing more "yeah."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we would probably go more
Mouth
if you think about it.
position
Mhm.
really doesn't matter if you think about it.
If you think about it. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's always tricky with reductions. There's always a million ways to do it. One alternative could be holding it longer. I could see that. I wouldn't want to reduce it any more than you currently have it reduced. Because if you're going for the reduction, this is probably the most you'd want to do.
Mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Because like if you think of, because one of the things is it's almost getting lost with the if you think about like yeah, if you think about maybe even just like slightly tweaking the that y just a touch. I don't think it would take much.
Mm.
Just kind of slightly make it stand out more. Um,
I don't know that I would use the schwa in that
mm,
case
mm,
because sometimes we do say "yeah" like it exists, but I
mhm,
don't think it's so common in most people's everyday speech.
mm.
It's not a stressed word because we tend to not really stress pronouns, but we also don't reduce them to the point of a schwa most of the time.
Mm. Let me hear it last part again.
Position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Mm.
For me, the part that's really kind of standing out.
Coming through. Mouth position really doesn't matter if
Let me hear mid position again.
really coming through. Mouth position
I would just say maybe the placement's a little high on that end, like like mouth position versus like mouth position, maybe just a little bit more air coming through. But that's very nitpicky.
really doesn't matter if you think about it.
Mhm. Matter if you think about it. If you think about it.
I mean, doesn't matter if you think about it.
If you think about it, to me that part feels a little choppier.
Really doesn't matter if you think about it.
If you think about it versus if you think about it. I think you could experiment with potentially even going lower. Like if you think about it, it really doesn't matter if you think about it. Like it really doesn't matter if you think about it. Yep. Other things that kind of stand out to you from this file.
Um, so in that last part that you were playing,
Mhm.
really doesn't matter if you think about it. I probably wouldn't use all those pauses there. I would probably just speed it up a little bit. Like, really doesn't matter. Really doesn't like to rush through really and doesn't,
Mm,
because they're not particularly important words. And he's putting a lot of stress on matter. So I think that rushing through the words before it would help boost the rhythm a little bit.
mm, Depends on how much thought are you trying to. So, question for a man, like how much thought are you like? What's it's hard because we never have context, But like if
Mhm.
you're slowing it down that much, it's really kind of like that sense of kind of like trying to grab the idea, like taking them like it really doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter.
Mhm.
'Cause I do think that probably the more natural tendency probably would be to speed that up. But if you're trying to get that sense of like a person that's like coming to a realization in a moment, it's like, wow, this like really doesn't
Mm.
matter. Like it kind of all depends on the context. But that
Yeah,
yeah, that specific kind of thoughtful situation probably one of the more specific contexts. Yeah. Um,
right.
Manuel makes a note trying to use pauses for more emphasis. Well, it definitely gets more
Mhm.
emphasis. I will give you that.
Yeah. I mean, you can use pauses too, and I agree with what you're saying that it depends on the context. I feel like in general, though, we might not slow it down that much.
Mm,
Maybe a little bit more than usual to make a point, but probably not quite that slow.
mm. Gotcha. Okay. I'll play a file one more time to see if other things kind of pop out to us.
I mean, as long as your placement is low and you have enough air coming through, mouth position really doesn't matter if you think about it.
I
Yep.
really like the way he said mouth position really does like his pitch there, the way he
Mhm.
switches like mouth position instead of mouth position.
Like in the compound now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
That's good because a lot of people really struggle with compound nouns and
Mhm.
putting the stress in the right place. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. And John, I think this is pretty good rhythms.
Yeah.
Um, thanks to Emmanuel for sharing this with us. Okay. One moment. So, Mary, really quick, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about kind of just the different services you offer. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do specifically with students?
Yeah. So I work with advanced English speakers who really just want to work on their accent and either Americanizing it or neutralizing it so people can't tell where they're from. Some people say, okay, I don't want to completely get rid of my accent. I just don't want people to always ask me where I'm from. And then there are other people that really want an
Mm.
American accent. So I help people with both. And we do one on one coaching sessions where I have them speak. We work on one sound per session and just making sure they always pronounce it a certain way as they speak.
Where have you been now?
Oh,
Sorry, no,
I
I've
think
been
I
cutting out.
lost
How long
you.
have you been teaching for now?
Yeah, so I've been teaching
Check,
for
check, 1, 2.
about 4 years. Oh, is it working?
Yes,
Okay.
we're back. I promise. We're
Yeah,
here.
I lost you there for a
Yep.
bit. Okay. Yeah, so I've been teaching formally for about 4 years, and I've also been tutoring for longer than that. And it's been really fun. I love working with people from other countries and helping them with their language skills.
Yeah. Now, is there a difference between the accent coaching and then the consultations that you do?
Yeah, so the consultations are really just like to get to know a person, like what are their goals, and to explain what I can offer them. That way we know like if we're a good fit for each other, because not everyone is going to be like a good fit. Maybe I don't offer what they're looking for. So that's really just to get to know if it's the right fit.
Got you. Got you. So again, guys, be sure to check that out. We do have another question here from Mr. Go Big Go Home. Good to see you as always. Difference between college and university, of course.
Hmm. I get
Anything that
this
comes
one.
to mind, Mary? Yes.
Okay. Um, I would say to me, first of all, college is the most common term, in my opinion, that you're going to hear from an American. It's very, very general and it kind of refers to everything. I wouldn't say that every college is a university, though.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you go to the US, as soon as you finish high school, you go to college. Okay. I
Yeah.
know, for instance, for some of our people, um, a lot of Slavic speaking countries, college and university, there is a big difference between them. But in North America, you don't say, "Oh, I go to university." No, you
Mhm.
say, I go to college," or "I'm in college." There are technical differences. I want to say universities have, I want to say it's like the ratio of like PhDs to master holding faculty in addition to research funding. So like in general, university is going to be bigger. University is going to be bigger than a college for the most part. So like if you're doing anything that's a lot more like research based, um, universities tend to have greater opportunities just because they have greater funding. But in terms of the degree you get the same degree for from both. Yeah. Um, but yeah, North America definitely, or at least for US, can't speak for Canada, but college is definitely more frequent. You sound a little weird, like, "Oh, I go to university." Like, "Oh, you're fancy, huh? Oh, you go to university, you fancy." Um, things
Yeah, I
like
think the same thing.
yeah,
If someone says that, I'm going to know they're from somewhere else for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's definitely one giveaway. Yeah, if you're trying to sound American, um, things like that.
Mhm.
A quick note. Oh, this is good. So, University of Fac. Be careful because that kind of sounds like Italian with like facultà. So, like the closest thing in English would probably be like your department, because if you say faculty, faculty means like the staff, like the teaching
Mhm.
staff.
Right.
So just kind of be careful with that. Like if you say my faculty is, English, people are like, wait, what? It's like all the teachers are from England. That's what people think. Um, all right, let's take a look at another file. I want to share my screen once more. is next. I'm going to drop down to this one. Looks like we have a lot of words here.
While, world, rather, major, mayor, range, brains, lock, lock, cup, cup, bug, bug, full, fool, pull, pool, look, lug, low, law, boat, bought, coat, caught, woke, walk, axe, X, Texas, Texas, so, sail.
Okay, thanks to Isabella for sending us. So kind of just a lot of minimal pairs and things. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit.
Wild, world, rather,
Let's kind of just start off with those.
wild, world,
In general, anything standing out to you, Mary, about like wild and world?
World. Can you play it one more time?
Mm-hmm.
wild, world,
World.
World is standing out to me more than wild.
Yeah.
wild, world,
World. World.
For me, what I'm hearing is
wild, world,
world. It sounds to me like the placement's a little high and our breath's a little blocked off. Like it kind of feels like that's kind of the dark L sound we're getting versus like an It's like world. I'd be trying to get a little bit more air through because it does sound a little bit closed off.
Right.
Yeah. Other things kind of standing out to you from those two?
No, because her pronunciation is definitely correct. But I noticed the same thing that you said. Like it sounds a little bit, I want to say nasal because I don't hear that there's a lot of space and that it's relaxed. It seems kind of tight. But the pronunciation's very good.
Keep going a little bit. Hello also to Unknown. Thanks for stopping by.
wild, world, rather, major, mayor, range,
Play that little part again, see if anything stand out to you.
rather, major, mayor, range.
Anything there?
I would make the J and major a little bit stronger.
Rather, major, mayor.
It reminds me a little bit of how some Spanish speakers pronounce the Y, where it would be like major, rather than jur, where it's like it's stronger.
Okay.
And that's what's standing out to me right there.
Got you.
Rather, major, mayor.
For me, the thing that's standing out are for rat. I feel like I'm hearing rather there versus like rather. So one of the things, so rather your stress is in that first syllable. That second syllable I would maybe weaken a little bit, like rather. Also, same thing with what's the last one? Mayor.
Rather, major, mayor.
Mayor versus mayor. Mayor. I think a lot of times, if in general, when you hear people pronouncing that second syllable again, it's gonna be super weak, super fast, like mayor. Gonna keep going.
Range, brains.
Up there on range and reigns.
Major, mayor. Range, brains.
Rain sounds, the R in rains sounds a little bit closer to a W to me.
Mayor. Range, brains.
Rains. I'm wondering if there's a lot of lip movement. I'm wondering doing that. Like wanes versus rains. You could keep the lips straight, or I would also say check yourself in the mirror when you're saying rains. If you see if your lips are rounding, because that can lead to that W type sound.
Right.
That Z is also a little bit exaggerated. I appreciate having a voice final sound. It's always good to hear. It doesn't have to be that strong. It doesn't have to be rains. It could be just like rains, rains.
I'm curious, how do you explain the initial R to people? Like, do you tell them to round their lips in general?
So, good question. I mean, let's discuss. I would like to have your thoughts on this too.
Mhm.
In general, my stance on a lot of consonant sounds are, I think there are multiple ways to do it, and I don't think, for like a lot of consonants, like for instance, like with th, people are like, oh, have contact, with your tooth. For W, round lips and things like that, and I definitely think you can pronounce the sounds that way. But
Mhm.
I also think that you can get a sound that is equally as clear with what would be considered kind of like quote unquote like non-standard or incorrect
Mhm.
mouth positions, and I think this is largely due to concepts like placement, like where are you projecting the sound from, and
Right.
also things again like breath, like how much air do you have passing through, because so many other languages are so much more close. So for instance, if I'm teaching like an R, like the goal a lot of times, like when I'm working with a student, we focus on the sound first. Like I'm like not even watching what you're doing here. Let's just kind of want to hear what you're doing and just see if we can get like an er sound, or like or because if you can do an then we can hold it and then get into like a sound. So for instance, like So in general, obviously you can do like or you can do or like what in general what I find is that straighter lips make it a little bit easier to get more breath through.
Mhm.
Um, Dropping the lower jaw also can allow that a little bit more too. So like and also just kind of repeating the sound a couple times can help try to kind of weaken it, because in my opinion, like American English is so focused on vowel sounds and trying to get from vowel to vowel. So
Yes.
the consonants, oftentimes we want them to become relatively weak, especially compared to other languages. So like for instance, if you're trying to say a word like for instance like raw, you know, like the key is the ah sound. It's not really the R. So it's like ah raw. Because otherwise, if you're focusing rely on the R, what you can end up getting is like a raw. But people aren't saying raw. In conversation, people are saying raw. It's like ah raw, ah raw, ah raw. The R is present but not dominant.
Mhm.
How about for yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this the exact same thing as you. I have a client from Italy who exaggerates the R,
Hmm.
and she doesn't have the wrong placement. Like she makes an American R, absolutely, but she
Hmm.
does try to round her lips a lot because that's what they taught her
Hmm.
in English classes.
Right.
But I tell her like when she does that, she gets like read, and it sounds
Exactly.
a little bit strong.
Hmm.
And I know in Italian consonants are very strong, like they have double
Double
consonants.
consonants are, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a really big difference, and she wants to sound American. So I tell her, like, not to round her lips at all, and
Hmm.
I have her kind
Right.
of, I actually have her, like, lightly touch the back of her bottom lip with her upper
Uh-huh.
teeth,
Hmm.
and I find that that gets her to
Interesting.
sound
Hmm.
immediately.
Hmm. I could see that helping with trying to keep the lips straighter, because it's hard to do that with round lips. I could see that working.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Italian is so consonant. I mean, double consonants. I mean, there's still times in like minimal pairs with like double consonants. I need to take a second and be like, oh, that was a double and that was a single. Especially if I'm tired. Um, and this is true for a lot of Romance languages. So like just trying to cut off or not cut off, but like really weaken the vowels. Like even if you have a sentence like if I say a sentence like, like Ralph rarely rose,
Mm.
like saying a sentence like that, you don't want like Ralph rarely rose, because then those R's are just but if you focus instead on the vowels, like Ralph rarely rose, like Al, air, oh, Ralph rarely rose, suddenly you're able to open things up and allow a little bit more air to pass through and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
Honestly,
That's a great point. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. Like consonants in general are not that strong in American English.
hmm yeah, yeah. Another question here. Sometimes in songs like "Living on a Prayer" here and "Living on a Prayer." What's the mystery of that? It's like, do you feel like this is for unknown? So I imagine it feels like you're hearing like "Living on a Prayer," like "Living Aura" instead of "Anna." Um, this kind of actually goes back to what I was just mentioning. The traditional way that people are taught R sounds in school is that a very strong R. People are like American English R sound really strong. When the reality is it's present but not dominant. It's stronger than British English, but like that's not really a fair comparison.
Mm.
So I'm kind of same, very similar thing with the N sound. Traditionally, I feel like the N is taught, tip of the tongue on your ridge and like nah, nah, nah. But I think, a lot of words, prepositions have the N sounds, and typically prepositions are not stressed. It's like, it's not living on a, it's living and in prayer. If in terms of the title, those would be your stresses. It's like that Anna part. We're trying to like breeze past that. We're trying to get to prayer in general as fast as we can. And if you're doing that higher position, it's not going to work, because it's not living on a prayer. It's living on a prayer. It's like the Anna, a lot of times you don't even really need to have the tip of your tongue touch up here. You can kind of just get through a click. Like Anna very often becomes like Anna, 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 which
Mhm.
is not, however, the same thing as an R sound.
Mhm.
So it's because the back of the tongue is just not that other half of your tongue is just not going high enough.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing that's what you're hearing with that Anna versus Ara, or like Aura, because it's not Aura prayer, it's Anna prayer, Anna, Anna, Anna. So I would say try saying Anna like 3 times with the tip of your tongue down, just to kind of see how it sounds, like Anna, 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 Anna.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe it can sound like an R for the reason that you stated before, that we actually don't exaggerate our R's that much. I mean, it depends. If you're from the
Mhm.
South, maybe. But in general, in a general American accent, the R's are not that stressed. So maybe it can end up sounding like that for that reason.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I would say continue listening to reductions and things. Um, Going back to our audio though. One moment. I'm gonna keep moving ahead.
Range, brains,
We talked about that Z, a little exaggerated on that Z on Reigns.
lock, lock,
So this is luck, I believe.
lock, lock,
Sound a little similar.
Yeah, they sound pretty similar. The first time they sounded like the same word to me. When I listen again, I can
Mhm.
tell the first one's ah. But I think to make it clearer, she could drop her jaw more, make it longer of a sound.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
lock, lock,
Lock. Yeah, it does feel very closed off on that. Luck. Again, this is so for your
Mhm.
schwa sound, just some general tips. That's the sound you're making when your face is usually in like a neutral position, so not really smiling. Your teeth aren't really touching. Maybe your tongue's a little high, not touching the top of the mouth, but just slightly raised. And again, trying to project from a lower position, like so make sure you can hear the difference between like an uh, ah, uh, ah, uh. And then what you can do is you can then add a little bit to that. So like uh, la, lock, luck, and things
Mhm.
like that. Kind of build on your progression there. But they sound a little similar. I'm gonna keep going.
cup, cup,
Now that vowel is very short on cup.
cup, cup,
Yeah. One thing again, vowel sounds in American English, there are names, for instance, like a long vowel versus a short vowel, but in a lot of ways, it don't really mean anything because you can hold any vowel for the same amount of time. Just because something's considered a short vowel does not mean it's fast. Just because
Mhm.
something is long doesn't necessarily mean it's long. Um, they're just names. So in general, every vowel in American English you can pronounce for the same amount of time. So like for instance, when you're saying cop and cup, there's no reason I can't say those words for the same amount of time. Cop, cup, cop, cup. So I do think that vowel in cup is a little bit fast because you're kind of getting cup, versus cup,
lock, lock, cup, cup,
cup. Just super, super
Mm.
fast. Consonants kind of standing. Yeah.
Maybe it's because like I'm not sure what her native language is for sure, but I noticed like Spanish and Italian speakers start out saying like cat instead of cut. So
Mm,
maybe she's trying so hard not to open it too much that it's
mhm,
getting too
mhm.
closed.
Yeah, there could be a lot of overcompensating. That's interesting because I know that there are some similarities. So she speaks Farsi. There are some similarities between Spanish and Farsi. I'm gonna keep going.
Ba, cup, bot, bot. Full, full,
Let's put it again.
full, full.
So for full and fool, things are standing out to you there.
Full. Yeah, when she says full, it feels like full, very tight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She could maybe like relax the tongue a little bit, like full.
Mm-hmm.
Full,
That's for fool.
full, full.
Ooh.
Okay.
She does the ooh really well.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say I can clearly hear the difference between these. These don't sound exactly the same, which is good.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to more breath coming through for both of them, but I can hear a difference between them, which is good.
Full, full.
They both do sound tight, like full, fool versus like fa, fool. So I would say, hey, can we get to try to feel your diaphragm a little bit more? Try to get a little bit more air passing through. Also for the dark L, the placement for the L seems a little high to me.
Full,
Fool versus all at the end. Fool. It's like just a little bit more air. I'm gonna keep moving.
pull, pull.
That pull and pool to me sounded a little bit more open than full and fool. I don't know if you had that impression too. I'll play again.
Pull, pull. Look.
Yeah, pull sounded more open for sure.
That one time.
Full, pull, pull.
Yeah, I thought both of those sounded more open. Pull and pool.
Yeah.
One more breath through.
Look. Look.
Uh-oh. I think we have a British invasion, I think. Let me hear that again, Luke.
Pull, look. Look.
Oh yeah.
Hear that? So yeah, a little bit of kind of like some British influence on that ooh sound after, again, one difference between British and American English. Ooh sounds after consonants. British English sometimes adding like an ew type sound versus just American English would go right to the ooh. So say Luke, more just Luke.
Look. Look.
I do like look. I thought look sounded pretty good to me. Again, I can't hear clearly the difference between those, which is great.
No, law, boat, bought, coat, car.
Any thoughts on these O and aw sounds?
Can you play that part one more time?
No, law, boat, bought, coat, car.
Caught. Yeah, I think she could lower her placement a little bit, but I do hear a pretty big difference between the two sounds, so that's excellent.
Bought, coat, car.
Caught. It does feel like the placement kind of shifts. Like it feels like I thought this for bought and I thought this for caught. Like it feels like we're starting a little higher and then opening down. It's like caught, bought versus caught, bought. I do wonder if we could start with the placement a little lower for both.
No, law, boat, bought.
Yeah, boat versus boat.
Coat, car.
Caught versus caught. It feels like our vowels kind of shifting slightly to me. Get to the last part of this.
Woke, walk. X, X.
Thoughts on the A versus the S sound here?
Can you play it one more time?
Yep.
X, X. Texas, Texas.
X sounded a little bit more closed. I would probably open it up just a little bit.
X, X.
X, right? Versus X, X.
Right.
Yeah. I would try saying X like 3 times, like X, X, X. And again, key thing with this one letters, I mean, it's pretty much just the letter X, a lot of letters actually start with the sound. So we see this in S, we see this in F, we see this in O, we see this in M. So like it might be helpful to just kind of say them a couple times to make sure you're getting the right sound. Like for instance, like M. It's not M. It's M. Just trying to again open things up. Same thing with X.
Yeah, I feel like with all vowels in American English, you don't want that much tightness. Like you want to have them all kind of open, probably more than in your native language.
Yeah.
So it would be a good idea to kind of just open it up a little bit.
Yeah. The last part's here.
Texas, Texas. So, sail.
Sail.
This kind of stands out, right? Hang on.
Sail.
Sail. Say placement's pretty high. You're getting a lot of vibration, like say versus say. So I'll say lowered placement a little bit for that A sound. I did like cell. I thought cell was pretty good.
Yeah.
Other last thoughts for this file?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. So Beta, thank you for sending us this. We do appreciate it. I'm going to make myself big just for a moment. Guys, so again, if you're enjoying the sorts of feedback that we are going through today, just quick note, that doesn't even mean anything. Just to let you know really quick, we do have a program called Mission English where Monday through Friday at these times, which I will show you as soon as I can find it, we do a 30-minute live stream. Basically, you can join me in a private Facebook group and we look at your pronunciation files. So we can go a little bit more in depth than we can today. Because we can do exercises together. You can join me on camera and join us in the group. And again, 30 minutes. We have 2 sessions per day, Monday through Friday. And they're also spread out across different time zones. So for instance, if that 1:30 time slot is great for you, we meet on Monday, we meet on Tuesday, and we meet again on Friday. Maybe that 8 p.m. New York time works out well for you, though. Well, we do that on Monday, we do that on Wednesday, and we do that on Thursday. So again, this is all part of our Mission English program. We would love to have you. We can get working on your American English every single day of the week. But in the meantime, we also have some more pronunciation files to get through. Mary, how are you feeling so far?
This is fun.
Yeah, this is why you need to live stream. Yeah, Mary needs to live stream. Don't you agree? Yeah, Mary needs to live stream.
Yeah, I need to learn to do more technically advanced things related to pronunciation. For me, it's like I'm
Talk to us after.
Videos, but this is different.
It is different. Yeah, definitely different.
You have the perfect voice for it. Like
look-
you're so exciting to listen to.
Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, shucks. Thanks, Mary. You're the best. I appreciate that. What is Shoke going to grace us with here?
A winter in the Gulf, unlike any other, at least in recent memory. Since January 1st, more than a year's worth of rain has fallen on Qatar's capital, Doha.
Okay. I should have some friends teaching in Doha right now. All right, let's hear that again.
A winter in the Gulf, unlike any other, at least in recent memory. Since January 1st, more than a year's worth of rain has fallen on Qatar's capital, Doha.
Is this true? By the way, I need to reach out to my Doha people. Is that not aware that that's the situation? Hold on. Raider checking in. Okay. I can lead off. Play the first part again.
A winter in the Gulf.
I feel like we are so open on everything, which is great. I love open.
A winter in the Gulf.
You can really hear that. I really like that R sound on winter. I think it's coming in super clearly.
A winter in the Gulf.
There's one word though that is really closing off, and that's the word golf. Golf. It feels like we're almost swallowing it.
Winter in the Gulf.
Golf versus golf. I would just try to keep that same level of openness that you have for that first part, for that part too. And I know you can because you kept everything open for all the other parts. So I know you can do it on that part as well. Don't let that L cause problems. It's just there. Don't let it dominate. I'm gonna keep going. Unless Mary, anything stand out to you so far?
Yeah. When she says least, I would tighten it a little bit.
Let's hear that again.
In the Gulf, unlike any other, at least in recent.
At least. At least. Like
It really
yeah, I would bring the
definitely
tone
switch.
up
I'm sorry. Yeah.
At least.
At least.
least.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the A and at. Can you play that part one more time?
Mm-hmm.
Unlike any other, at least.
At least. At least. It seems like the as sound is a little bit forced, even though she's trying to rush through the word. So rushing through it is good, but I would use a different pronunciation while rushing through it, almost like an I, as in sit, like at least, at least.
Actually.
Unlike any other, at least.
Hmm.
It is very strong. I would definitely consider trying to find a way to weaken it a little bit, at least.
Unlike any other, at least.
At least. One of the other things too is that something with held sound. So you're using a held sound. You're not pronouncing the T. You're not saying at least, which is again something I would recommend as well. But I think the tricky thing with held sounds is, yes, we're not going to pronounce the T, but at the same time, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive. Like I would say that with held sounds, we're not entirely stopping the breath because the breath kind of needs to link to the next part. So you're not going to get that, but it's not going to be at least. You know, it's not like a glottal, like complete stop. It's still going to be slightly smoother. So like at least, at least, at least. It's at least versus like at least. You know, it's just trying to smooth that out a little bit. And I'm wondering if that would also kind of soften that consonant a little bit more, like you were describing. I'm going to keep going.
Sure.
At least in recent memory.
I hear recent memory.
At least in recent memory.
Recent mem. I'm wondering if recent is impacting the vowel on memory. It's like recent mem versus recent mem. Recent memory.
In recent memory.
Memory. You're at memory versus memory. Memory. So I would try to keep that placement a little lower.
In recent memory.
Personally. Any other thoughts for that first sentence?
No.
Okay. Mary, we do have a question for you from Emmanuel. What do you think about using a schwa sound for that at and at least?
Yeah, I would recommend using a schwa sound. So I hear a lot of people say it's just but I sometimes favor kind of an I sound for a schwa, not a stressed I, like fish, like where it's super stressed. But to go a little bit more in that direction, like at least instead of at least. If you go really then it can sound a little strange.
Okay. So, yeah, at least. Yeah, I'm thinking get away with that. Play a little more.
Since January 1st.
Since January kind of pops out nowhere.
Since January 1st.
Since January, oh my gosh, like whoa. So I would just kind of tone down that transition to January just slightly.
January 1st.
I do like first. First sounds good. I like your R's in general. Like I think the R's, lots of breath coming through, but not dominant, which I like.
More than a year's worth of rain has.
Some consistent things I'm seeing with the E sound. We saw this in recent memory, where I mentioned again memory, that mem sounded like it was kind of influenced by how you're doing that E sound on recent. Same thing here with like years. I just think your E sounds tend to be a little high in terms of the placement, which is kind of really restricting things. So you're ending up with it's like an E sound, E, versus like an E. This is one of those tricky things because if you say E, people will understand it because English doesn't have any other vowel sound that's close to that. So people will hear an E, but it's one of those things, the difference between, yeah, it's understandable, but is it natural sounding? And I think that it's always going to sound slightly accented when you do it that way. Let me play again a year's worth.
More than a year's.
A year's. You can hear the build up to it too, where everything tightens. A year's versus a year's. Try to keep everything where it was for that sound, and I think you'll be in good shape. Things standing out to you right now, Mary?
No.
No? Okay.
More than a year's worth of rain has
Just a quick note. I like that Z sound on years. It's not overpowering. This is kind of we talked about the Z sound. I think it was on Rains earlier, and I think this is a Z sound. You can hear the voice sound, but it's not too much.
Mm.
worth of rain has fallen on Qatar's capital, Doha.
I think we kind of like forgot like the gap between Qatar's cap. Like I think we like Qatar's capital. Like I think we like almost like forgot a word or something. And it kind of jumped in, so I won't punish you for that. Things that are standing out from this last part.
Year's worth of rain has fallen on Qatar's capital, Doha.
Capital. I would slow down a little bit on the in capital instead of capital, like capital, just lightly slow down a little bit.
Has fallen on Qatar's capital.
I'm wondering if I hear what you're saying. I'm wondering if it's because the consonants are so strong, because that k sound is really heavy and that p sounds really heavy, which is making that vowel sound shorter than I think it actually is. So instead of saying like just saying like cap, like because you're saying cap, it's like cap. Can you hear that like difference there? Trying to let the vowel be the center stage. Let that get the attention, not the consonants there.
Right.
Capital.
Yeah, very heavy on the consonants. Last comments on this file?
It was really good. I think overall, like she does a really good job with openness, and I don't hear a ton of tightness throughout the whole thing. As you mentioned before, there are a couple of areas where there is a little bit of tightness, especially with Gulf. But overall, it's really excellent.
Yes. Good work to Shok. Good work. Yeah. All around. Time. 16. Mary, how are you doing on time?
Yeah, I think I'll have to go in about 10 minutes.
Cool. Keep me posted on that. Let's see if we can get through one or two more files before then. Okay. Let's see here. Interesting file. Let's check out this one here. Well, this one sounds painful.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs, a shattered jaw, severed fingers, and a fractured skull.
Oh my God.
Oh.
All right. This is just
I hope
tragic. Oh my gosh.
An example sentence.
Praying that this is just a sentence. But this is what we're choosing to say, so let's say it as naturally as possible. Quick American English versus British English thing here. North America will be the hospital versus to hospital. That's more British. Just a note. But besides that,
he was taken to hospital with broken legs.
Not that part. Play it again.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs, a shattered.
I got fixated on shattered. I'm sorry.
Okay. I went too far.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs.
I feel like there's one word that's kind of standing out to me. Let's see if it's
broken. One more time.
See if the same word is standing out to you.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs.
Broken. Maybe broken. I would rush through that E a little more. Broken.
Hospital with broken legs.
Broken.
For me, the word that's really standing out that feels different than all the others is the word legs.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs.
Because for me, the placement there is just so different. Everything else, the placement feels really low for me, but then on legs, it kind of feels like it jumps up.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs.
Taken to hospital or broken legs? legs versus legs with broken legs. Mhm. It's just that's the word that's standing out to me. I would say that sound. I would try to get a little more breath through. Try to feel the diaphragm more.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I hear it a little bit. It's not too much, but
Mm.
yeah, I would put a little more breath, like you're saying.
Other things. Got the shattered.
Legs, a shattered jaw.
Okay, right there, I would open up more for shatter and make it last a little bit longer, stress it a little more.
Shattered jaw.
Like, okay, shattered jaw. I would go like shattered jaw, like really open up on that one.
Legs, a shattered jaw.
Mm.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs, a shattered jaw.
Yeah, it sounds a little, just a little bit too close to F for me.
Like shattered versus shattered kind of thing.
Exactly.
To hospital with broken legs, a shattered jaw.
To me, the pitch is a little funky.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs, a shattered jaw.
Shattered.
Broken legs,
Happening
shattered jaw.
Shattered.
Like a shattered jaw. Let me hear the rest of it.
A shattered jaw, severed fingers.
Severed. Try to make that V maybe just a touch stronger. Severed, like severed fingers.
Severed fingers.
Because I'm here, sure versus like severed. Could also be just that S sound again, which you saw. So it seems like maybe like ass sounds versus like S sounds a little bit might be some good vowels to take a look at. We see this on shattered. We see this on legs. We see this on severed.
Right.
Severed fingers and a fractured skull.
Oh yeah. Also on fractured, I would open up more.
Fractured skull. A shattered jaw, severed fingers and a fractured skull.
Fractured.
Fingers and a fractured skull.
Yeah. So yeah, might be good to look at like S sounds just a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, it was excellent. The placement sounded really good too.
I would definitely encourage, because I don't think it sounds flat, but I would definitely, we don't have a whole lot of energy here.
He was taken to hospital with broken legs, a shattered jaw, severed fingers, and a fractured skull.
It's just like a laundry list. But like I don't know how to feel about these things. Like, am I like surprised? Am I like sad? Am I like shocked? Am I angry? Like there's really no emotional context. Not that there needs to be, but those things would also have an impact on the words we stress. It would have an impact on pitch, because right now we're just saying super flat and super neutral. You know, so I would, kind of decide on an emotion, and also then play around with how high we go and how low we go. Because right now we're kind of using like a range of maybe like 3 to 4 pitches. When this could easily get into like 6, 7, 8 pitch range. Like he was taken to hospital with broken legs, a shattered jaw, like severed fingers. Like, you could really play around with this a lot more to kind of extend the range.
He could even, if he wanted to make it really exciting, he could even stress broken, shattered, and severed more, because those are huge, like, those are huge things. They carry a lot of meaning, like broken legs, a shattered jaw, really opening up on everything.
Yeah. So it's such an interesting, I mean, horrifying, but also interesting sentence that there's a lot you could kind of play with here, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah. Mary, do you think you have time for one more?
Sure.
Or do you think it's better to go?
One more.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Just going. Oh my God, okay, one moment. Okay, let's take a listen to this one.
Hey everyone, it's Jeff.
All my troubles seem so far.
Okay, alright.
We've arrived at the point in the show where we have received a special guest. Mary, are you ready for this?
Yes, let's do it.
You're like, I don't even know what this is. Whatever. Okay, let us take a listen to see what pronunciation advice we can give for this.
Oh my God, can you at least tell me what's going on? No! It's hard. It's too complicated to explain, Angelina. You don't understand. Well, where can we talk it, Ellen? Just me and you, and we'll have a little talk, and maybe we could figure something out together. No, Angelina. If only you could see what I'm going through. All the insecurities and all the judgmental people I have to deal with every single day. And all the, oh, you have to be this and that in order to fit in. And realizing that I have none of that. Like, do you realize how stressful that is? And how much pain I have to go through every single day. Like, I just can't anymore, Angelina. I can't.
That's good.
I can't. Goodbye to you, my trusted friend. But we've known each other since we were 9 or 10. Together we've climbed hills and trees. Learn of love in ABCs. Skin our hearts and skin our knees. Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die.
Mary, are you a singer at all or no?
When
Yes,
all the birds are singing in the sky. Now that spring is in the air. Pretty girls are everywhere. Think of me and I'll be there. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the hills that we climbed were just seasons out of time. Goodbye, Papa, please pray for me. Oh, I was the black sheep of the family. You tried to teach me right from wrong. Too much wine and too much song. Wonder how I got along. Goodbye, Papa. It's hard to die when all the birds are singing in the sky.
I'm gonna pause this there for a moment. Mary, any thoughts?
Nope.
just no. That's great. Guys, just a quick reminder again, we have been joined today by Mary L, accent coaching. Mary, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah. It's a
Cool.
pleasure.
Yeah. So guys, be sure to check out her YouTube channel. It is in the description and things like that. Mary, we hope to see you again in the future. And cool. Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate it.
It was nice.
Cool. All right. I'm going to send Mary backstage and let her off, guys, but say bye, I should say, to Mary, and hopefully we'll see her again soon. Thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Cool.
Yeah, it was nice. Bye.
All right. Take care, Mary. Bye. I'm going to keep going with that because that song was hot fire. So
now that spring is in the air, little children everywhere. When you see them, I'll be there. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the wine and the song, like the seasons, have all gone. We had joy, we had fun,
like a
we
lighter.
had seasons in the sun. But the wine and the song, like the seasons, have all gone. Yeah, yeah. Goodbye, Michelle, my little one. You gave me love and helped me find the sun. And every time that I was down, You would always come around and get my feet back on the ground. Goodbye, Michelle. It's hard to die. When all the birds are singing in the sky. Now the spring is in the air. With the flowers everywhere. I wish that we could both be there. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the hills that we climbed were just seasons out of time. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the wine and the song, like the seasons have all gone. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the hills that we climbed were just seasons out of time. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the wine and the song, like the seasons have all gone.
All right. Well, there's that. Okay. I'm going to land us. Let's see how many files. What's our time? 1:31. Oh, shicks. Couple files left, so my apologies if Mary and I didn't get to your specific file. Well, we got to most everybody. I think is Elchin the only one we're missing. Elchin, if you are sending us a file, I kind of need it. So we did everyone else. I did Shok, did Emmanuel, did Sycamore, did Zabeta. Oh, we're not done Marcos's. Okay, so if Elchin is sending a file, he needs to kind of speed this thing up. Okay. Yeah, there was that one note. Manuel goes, let's look at Marcos's file if it lets me. Yes, I'm gonna see that. Hello to Elchin checking in. Good to see you, sir. Did not get Marcos. Yes, we did not get Marcos's, so I'm gonna try to rock that one. Interesting version. When my mom says something is interesting, that means she doesn't like it. Okay, what's our what's our time? It's really 1:32. I'll leave that 1:31. Okay.
Space, the final frontier.
All right.
These are the voyagers of the Starship Enterprise. Its continued mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one had gone before.
Yeah, the ending line was really good. Marcos, I didn't know you were a Trekkie. Okay. Let's take a listen to first part.
Space.
I feel like we're getting a little bit of shifting on that vowel.
Space.
Space versus space. Space.
The final frontier.
The final frontier. Final frontier. What gets stressed more when they actually say this? I haven't watched Star Trek in a very long time. Take care, Edward. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. Do they stress final or do they stress frontier? Is it the final frontier? Is it the final frontier? Because my impression is that they stress frontier. But I could be wrong on that. So I would say listen back to how they say that in the show.
Final frontier. These are the voyagers. So
you could get that V on Voyages just a touch stronger. Elchin, you're good. I see you sent your file.
These are the voyagers.
Dude, these are the voyages versus these are the voyages. Just try and get that V a little stronger.
These are the voyagers of the Starship Enterprise.
Starship Enterprise. Enterprise should be your stress, not Starship.
These are the voyagers of the Starship Enterprise.
Or Starship Enterprise. Starship Enterprise. You probably want to raise the pitch on the N a little bit higher. Enterprise.
So the Starship Enterprise. Its continued mission to...
A lot of E sounds for your short I. So like its continued mission versus its continued mission. So this again, short I, short I, short I. Watch out for that part there.
Its continued mission to explore strange.
Explore. Don't close off too much on the R. So explore. More explore to explore.
Mission to explore strange new worlds.
Worlds. Just a slight Z sound at the end. Okay? Worlds. Elchin, I have your file. You're okay. You don't need to put it in chat. I have it.
New worlds. To seek out new life and
Here, new again.
worlds. To seek out new life.
I think it's okay. Okay. To seek out. I like your pitch movement here.
Strange new worlds. To seek out new life.
To seek out new life. Like to seek out new life. Yeah, in general, I like the pitch movement there.
And new civilizations.
New again.
Life and new civilizations. And new civilizations.
New. I do think you could get a little more breath on that ooh sound on new. And new. And new.
To seek out new life and new civilizations. To boldly go where no one had gone before.
Boldly go. Maybe just a little more breath.
Civilizations. To boldly go where no one had gone before.
It's like boldly go where no one has gone. I do think your O sounds and things like that, aw sounds could be just a little more breath through. Okay. Just kind of something to watch out for. Play one more time, see if anything else stands out.
Space, the final frontier.
Like your R sound
These
frontier.
are the voyagers of the Starship Enterprise.
Starship
Its
Enterprise.
continued mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations.
Yeah, again, those ooh sounds again. Just try to get a little more breath through on the ooh.
Boldly go where no one had gone before.
And again, open it up a little bit more on those, like boldly go on where no one had gone. Just things like that. I think a little more breath through on that. Okay. But thank you so much for that, Marcos. Do appreciate you. Thank you for sending that file. And thank you, Ma. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. And also thanks to No. Okay, last file here. We're at 13702. Last file I see. We just have enough time for.
Finally, I have bought a MacBook.
I have bought a MacBook. Finally, I bought. I'm okay with this, but I am kind of curious why we're saying have. Most likely that'll be contracted, unless it's really for emphasis. But I don't entirely know why you would want to stress to have.
Finally, I have bought a MacBook.
Like if you want to stress anything there, what you could do is instead of but you already said finally, because I was going to say I finally bought a MacBook or like something like that. But yeah, just the have is just to me kind of strikes me as being unusual. Not wrong, but not frequent.
Finally, I have bought a MacBook.
I like how you're saying Mac.
I've bought a MacBook.
But it feels like on book it's immediately closing, like MacBook versus MacBook. Finally bought a MacBook. I bought a MacBook. It's a little bit more open on that sound. I don't know if it's the sound that is kind of closing off, or if it's the B before it that's maybe causing things to close. But something there is kind of blocking the breath. Okay. Just a quick question. Manual, do you use I or I? Civilization. Like civilization. I mean, some people will pronounce it that way, but I think the more frequent one is civilization with a V. Just a note. Going back to this.
It's been something I want for a really long time.
It's something.
It's been something I want for.
Something I've wanted. It's been something I've wanted. It's been something I've wanted. Just a note. Grammar.
I have bought a MacBook. It's been something I want for a really long time.
For a really long time. So one of the things here is this, to me, feels like it's red. It doesn't feel like it's something you're saying in conversation. Like if you wanted to sound more conversational, you'd be like, you know, it's something I've wanted for a really long time. Like it's something I've wanted for a really long time. Like something like that to me would sound a little bit more spoken.
And now I can say that finally I have it.
Watch out for E sounds at the end. This is true for a lot of Slavic languages. Watch out for those final E's at the ends of words. We want to make sure we're getting that E sound. Like instead of finally, 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 finally. So holding that E. Okay. Just nope.
Now I can say that finally I have
Yeah, finally.
it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work. However, finally I have it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work.
I thought that flowed pretty nicely.
Finally I have it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work. Say that finally I have it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work.
The consonants do feel slightly heavy. I think mainly I'm going to be...
I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work.
Using it for work versus using it for work. Using it for work. I think you go a little lighter on your Z sound. Using it for work.
Finally I have it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work.
Using it for work versus using it for work. Maybe it's that it for.
Have it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work.
It for work versus it for work. Using it for work. I think you get a little bit smoother between it and for. Using it for work. Using it for work. Using it for work.
However, due to the fact that it's got a great screen, I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work. However,
however,
to the fact that it's got a great screen. However, due to the fact that it's got a great screen.
However, due to the fact that, again, I think you get a little more breath through it to just kind of link it more.
However, due to the fact that it's
due to the fact that
got a great screen, I wouldn't mind watching some YouTube videos on it as well. Great screen. I wouldn't mind.
You could get a little more breath through on what I wouldn't mind.
Great screen. Using it for work. However, due to the fact that it's got a great screen.
I like how you did that great screen part. Yeah, like it's got a great screen. Nice. I like the pitches, like the intonation there, I like the stress.
I wouldn't mind watching some YouTube videos on it as well. I wouldn't mind watching some YouTube videos on it as well.
Okay.
And watching some YouTube videos on it as well.
YouTube videos.
Watching some YouTube videos on it.
YouTube. I do think that. I think U is okay. I think on Tube you could get that vowel just a little bit more open because it feels a little short. Like YouTube versus YouTube videos.
I wouldn't mind watching some YouTube videos on it.
YouTube, like a little bit more breath on the ooh, just open it up slightly.
As well. And what I really like about it is.
And what I really like about it, good. I like that pattern.
That I can work with it from different locations. Can work with it from it is that I can work with it from different locations.
Work with it from different locations. That to me, again, kind of a grammar thing. I can work with it from different locations. Work on it. You know, I think the most logical thing would be like I can do work on it. Like I can do work on it from different locations. Personally, if I were trying to think of a phrase for that, like I can do work on it from different locations. Okay, I'm gonna play it again, see if anything else stands out.
Finally, I have bought a MacBook. It's been something I want for a really long time. And now I can say that finally I have it. I think mainly I'm going to be using it for work. However, due to the fact that it's got a great screen, I wouldn't mind watching some YouTube videos on it as well. And what I really like about it is that I can work with it from different locations.
Yeah, especially like that last sentence, because that last sentence, like the patterns you're using, keeping things pretty open. I think you have a nice range of pitches on that last sentence as well. Yeah. Okay, for the sake of time, guys, I do have to run to a class. I'm going to have to pause us here, but you have just spent, again, about almost an hour and 45 minutes with us studying American English pronunciation on a Saturday. So give yourselves a round of applause for doing that. And again, if you'd like to work with me a little bit more closely, we do have offerings, all kinds of offerings for you that may be helpful for all different ranges too. So for instance, if you're in a place trying to take care of your family, things like that, understand that's what our YouTube videos are here for. I'm giving you an accessible resource. For $5 a month, though, you can get pronunciation corrections from me and my assistant teacher, Lenora, every single day of the week. It's part of our Telegram group, which you can join at patreon.com/fluentamerican. or you can go to fluentamerican.com as well. We also have our Mission English program where we do live streams from Monday through Friday, 2 times a day. So these are the times of the current streams. All these times are based on New York. We're trying to spread them out for different time zones too. It would be great to see you in the group. Okay. And of course, we also do some private lessons as well if you're looking for something more one-on-one based. Okay. Once more, my name is Jeff. You have been watching the Schwa Mill, where we help you craft your accent every single Saturday. We hope to see you for our next edition. Hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks again to Mary for joining us as well. Be sure to check out her channel, Mary L. Accent Coaching. And I will see you guys later. Thanks to Raider for the kind words. Thanks to Emmanuel. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Shok, Spada, Elchin, Edward, if he's still here, my mom. And I will see you guys later. Have a good day, good night, good afternoon. Take care.